My name is Mia Carter, and I used to believe that if you loved someone hard enough, you could outgrow anything. Insecurity, distance, stress, even small betrayals. I learned the ugly truth the night my best friend kissed my boyfriend in my kitchen and then told me it just happened. It didn't just happen. It was a plan. I only didn't see it because I was too busy trying to be the kind of woman who doesn't overreact. If you asked anyone in our circle, they'd tell you the same thing. Ethan Brooks was charming in that effortless way, like he didn't even try, and still got what he wanted. Kayla Monroe was magnetic, the kind of friend who could walk into a room and people would straighten their posture without realizing it. And me? I was the steady one. The reliable one. The girl who brought cupcakes to birthdays and remembered people's allergies. Kayla and I had been friends since sophomore year of college. We survived finals, heartbreaks, cheap ramen nights, and one truly terrifying roommate who believed mold was a natural aesthetic. When I met Ethan at a friend's rooftop party, Kayla was the one who pushed me toward him, laughing into her drink like she already knew how the story would end. "You're the kind of girl a guy like him will regret losing," Shed said. I wish I could go back in time and ask her why she chose those words. Because she was right. He did regret losing me. Just not for the reasons I expected. At first, Ethan was everything you'd want in a safe boyfriend. He texted good morning. He held my hand crossing the street. He remembered my coffee order. The problem was he also remembered Kayla's. Actually, he remembered everything about Kayla. Her favorite band. The weird way she hated bananas. The fact she cried at a dog food commercial once. When I brought it up, he smiled like I was being silly. "Babe, I'm friendly. That's all." I told myself I was imagining it. Because that's what I'd been trained to do. Doubt myself before doubting other people. Then the little things started. Kayla would cancel plans with me and post a story from some bar with Ethan's coworker group in the background. Ethan would forget to mention he was going out, and I'd see Kayla tagged in the same place. One time I joked, "Wow, you two have a secret social life," and Kayla laughed too loudly. "Oh my God, Mia. Don't be dramatic." If you've ever been gaslit by someone who claims to love you, you know that tone. It's not angry. It's amused. Like your fear is entertainment. I found out on a Tuesday. I remember because I had spent the whole day feeling oddly hopeful. Ethan had been sweet again, like the early days. He even brought me flowers, cheap grocery store ones, but still. When he kissed my forehead and said he'd see me later, I believed him. I came home from work early because my boss had let us out. I was excited, in a stupid, innocent way. I thought I'd surprise Ethan with dinner. I thought I'd surprise us with a normal night. The apartment was quiet until I heard laughing from the kitchen. Kayla's laugh. Ethan's voice. It was soft. Familiar. Too comfortable. I walked in and froze. They weren't doing anything movie dramatic. No clothes on the floor. No obvious scandal scene. Just Kayla perched on my counter like she lived there, and Ethan standing close enough that his hand brushed her waist. Then Kayla leaned forward. And Ethan leaned forward too. The kiss wasn't rushed. It wasn't accidental. It was slow, practiced, and confident, like they weren't afraid of consequences. I made a sound I didn't recognize, something between a gasp and a broken laugh. They pulled apart. Kayla's eyes widened. Ethan's face went pale. And for one bright, terrifying second, all three of us stood there in silence. Then Kayla said the sentence that still makes my stomach twist. "Mia, this isn't what it looks like." Ethan didn't speak. He just stared like he was calculating what words would cost him the least. I looked at Kayla. My best friend. My sister in everything but blood. And I heard myself say very calmly, "Get out." Kayla slid off the counter like she was offended. Like I was the one being unreasonable. "Mia, please get out." Ethan finally spoke, voice small. "Mia, let's talk." I turned to him and felt something inside me click into place, something cold and sharp. "You don't get to talk. You get to leave." Ethan tried to grab my wrist. I stepped back. Kayla scoffed, actually scoffed, like I was being dramatic. "Okay, wow. You're really doing this?" And that's when I knew. Not only had they betrayed me, they expected me to accept it quietly. Like I should be grateful they didn't hide it better. Ethan left first, slamming the door like he was angry at me. Kayla stayed behind, standing in my kitchen like she had a right to argue her case. "You're going to regret making this a big deal," she said. I blinked. "Making this a big deal?" She crossed her arms. "It's complicated. Ethan and it wasn't planned." I laughed. "It came out sharp, ugly." "Really?" "Because it looked pretty planned when you were sitting on my counter, like you own the place." Kayla's face hardened. "You always do this." "Do what?" "Play the victim." I swear to you, I stopped breathing. Because only a certain type of person can betray you and then accuse you of victimhood. It takes talent. It takes practice. I walked to the door and opened it. "Leave." Kayla hesitated like she expected me to beg her to stay. Then she walked out. But before she did, she turned and said, "You'll never find someone like Ethan again." Then she smiled. And that smile wasn't friend to friend. It was winner to loser. Everyone tells you what betrayal looks like. No one tells you what it feels like. It feels like your body doesn't trust your own memories anymore. It feels like every laugh you shared was secretly about you. It feels like a phone call you don't want to answer, and a silence you can't escape. That night, I sat on my living room floor with my back against the couch and realized something heartbreaking. I had loved Ethan, but I had trusted Kayla. And trust is harder to bury than love. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. My brain kept replaying their faces, the kiss, the way Kayla tried to make me feel crazy. By morning, my eyes burned and my head ached, and I finally did what I should have done months ago. I opened my laptop, and I started looking for proof. Not to expose them online. Not to ruin their lives. But to protect myself. Because something told me this wasn't just a cheating story. It was a setup. And I was the last one who didn't know I was the joke. The days after the breakup were like living underwater. Everything sounded muffled, slow, unreal. I'd wake up, half expecting a good morning text that would never come. Instead, I'd scroll through my phone and see Ethan and Kayla slowly leaking their new love online. A story here, a hand in a photo there. They weren't hiding it. They wanted me to see it. At first, I blocked them both. But you can't block grief. It finds its way through, in songs, in smells, in old photos buried in your camera roll. I started noticing strange things. Ethan had logged into our shared streaming account, ordered things on our shared Amazon Prime, and even withdrew money from the joint savings we had started for future plans. The same account my paycheck had contributed to. And that's when I realized the emotional betrayal wasn't the only one.
He was stealing from me.
It started with a small email from my bank, suspicious activity detected. 2 withdrawals, each about $900, both authorized under Ethan's name, taken after he moved out. When I called the bank, the woman on the line said softly, "It appears both names are on the account, Miss Carter." Both names. He had every legal right to drain it. I hung up and stared at the wall, numb. He cheated. He lied. And now he was robbing me legally. That's when Clara, a co-worker and part-time law student, stepped in. She found me crying in the office break room one morning. "Mia, what's going on?" I told her everything, the cheating, the money, the emotional wreckage. Clara didn't flinch. "Then you fight back. The right way." Clara wasn't one for petty revenge. She believed in clean justice. We gathered everything, every text, every screenshot, every email showing that the account and lease were in my name. Ethan might have thought he was clever, but had forgotten one crucial detail, the digital paper trail. While we worked, I kept remembering Kayla's words. "You'll never find someone like Ethan again." She was right again. Thank God. One evening, Clara came over with her laptop. "We can file a civil claim for unauthorized use of funds. But we'll need proof that the money came from your earnings." I nodded. "I have pay stubs."
Perfect.
And as for emotional damage, she hesitated. "You can't sue for heartbreak. But you can make sure he never uses your name again." That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept. But Ethan wasn't done. When word got out about what happened, he panicked. Instead of owning up, he did what cowards always do. He twisted the story. Suddenly, mutual friends stopped replying to my texts. One even messaged, "Hey, I heard you were toxic to Ethan. Maybe give him some space." Toxic. That word spread faster than truth ever could. Kayla posted vague quotes about women who play the victim. Ethan posted gym selfies captioned, "Sometimes you have to let go of the crazy." It was all so predictable, it almost made me laugh. Almost. Until one night, I came home and found a note slipped under my door.
No envelope.
Just a torn page. "You don't get to ruin my life for one mistake. You'll regret this." Ethan's handwriting. Clara insisted we file a police report, not as a threat, but as a record. "If he escalates, this protects you," she said. For weeks, nothing happened. Then came the call. Ethan had been caught trying to use my old debit card at a convenience store. The police had security footage. It wasn't a dramatic arrest. He was just tired. The man who once called me the love of his life looked like a stranger with too many lies and not enough sleep. Kayla, apparently, had left him days before. Rumor was she'd found someone else. Life has a dark sense of humor sometimes. A month later, I was in my apartment packing boxes, ready to move on, start fresh, when someone knocked. I froze. Through the peephole, I saw Ethan. He looked hollow. His hair was messy, eyes red, and he was holding something, the keychain ID given him years ago. "Mia, please. I just want to talk." For a moment, my heart twisted. The old instinct to comfort kicked in. But I stopped it. He wasn't my problem anymore. Still, I opened the door, just enough to see him, not enough for him to step in. "You got what you wanted," I said quietly. "Why are you here?"
He looked down.
"Because I didn't know what I had until I lost it." I almost laughed. That's what every coward says after they burn everything down. He flinched. "I made mistakes. I need you to know I'm sorry." I shook my head. "No, Ethan. You need to forgive yourself. I'm done carrying the weight for both of us." Then I closed the door. He didn't knock again. Months passed. The legal case was small but symbolic. He had to repay what he took, and the joint account was frozen. Kayla moved to another city. Ethan disappeared from social media. And me? I started therapy. I learned that forgiveness isn't for them. It's for you when you're ready to stop bleeding from someone else's knife. Clara stayed my friend. She helped me rebuild, little by little. One evening, while we were sitting on the balcony, she asked softly, "Do you think you'll ever love again?" I thought about it. The truth was I didn't know. But I smiled anyway. Maybe. But next time, I'll love someone who doesn't need to destroy me to feel strong. Betrayal changes you. It hardens your edges, but if you let it, it can also sharpen your insight. You stop believing words and start watching actions. You stop chasing apologies and start setting boundaries. You stop needing closure and start building peace. I used to think revenge was satisfaction. Now I know. The real victory is indifference. The day I stopped checking Ethan's Instagram was the day I got my life back. 1 year later, I received an email from Ethan. No subject. Just a single line. "I hope you're happy." I didn't reply. Instead, I walked outside, felt the spring air, and realized for the first time I was. After Ethan disappeared from my life for good, the silence was unbearable. People think silence is peaceful. It's not. Silence is loud when your mind replays memories you didn't invite. Silence is heavy when you're no longer angry enough to feel strong. I stopped waking up crying, but I didn't wake up happy either. I existed in between. Clara noticed it before I did. "You're healing," she told me one night while we sat on my apartment floor surrounded by half-packed boxes. "It doesn't feel like it," I said. "That's because healing isn't relief," she replied. "It's learning how to carry the scar without bleeding." That sentence stayed with me. 3 months later, Clara convinced me to go on a date. His name was Lucas. He was kind in a quiet way. No flashy charm. No performative confidence. He asked questions and waited for answers. And that terrified me. Halfway through dinner, he smiled and said, "You don't have to impress me." I nearly excused myself to the bathroom and cried. Because I had spent years trying to earn love, be prettier, quieter, more understanding, more forgiving. I didn't know how to exist without performing. When Lucas walked me home, he didn't try to kiss me. He just said, "I had a nice time."
Call me if you want. I did.
Then I panicked for 2 days straight. Healing isn't linear. Some nights I dreamed of Ethan standing in my doorway, apologizing perfectly, saying everything I wanted to hear. Other nights I dreamed of Kayla laughing while I screamed and no sound came out. I told my therapist about it. She nodded and said, "Your mind is trying to rewrite the ending." "But there is no ending," I said. "There is," she replied gently. "You survived." That wasn't enough for me back then. I didn't want survival. I wanted justice. I wanted meaning. 6 months after everything ended, I received a message request. From Kayla. My chest tightened instantly. The message was short. "I don't expect you to respond. I just need to say I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired. I typed a response. Deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. Finally, I wrote, "I don't forgive you, but I don't hate you either."
Please don't contact me again.
She read it. She didn't reply. And that was the moment I realized something terrifying and freeing. Closure doesn't always come from reconciliation. Sometimes it comes from walking away, without burning the house down. A year later, my life looked nothing like the one I had imagined with Ethan. I had moved to a smaller apartment with more light. I changed jobs. I traveled alone for the first time in my life. Standing on a beach in another country, watching the sun disappear into the water, I felt something unfamiliar.
Peace.
Not happiness. Not excitement. Just peace. I cried anyway. People always ask the same thing when they hear my story. Would you take him back if he had never cheated? The truth? I don't know. But I do know this. If betrayal was the price of learning my worth, then the lesson was expensive, but necessary. I no longer shrink to keep someone comfortable. I no longer confuse intensity with love. I no longer stay quiet to avoid being abandoned. Love doesn't prove itself through pain. It proves itself through consistency. Anyone can apologize when they lose you. Few people choose you when they're not afraid of losing you. I learned that too late for Ethan, but right on time for myself. 2 years later, I passed Ethan on the street.
He didn't see me.
He looked older, smaller, less certain. For a moment, I felt something. Then it passed, and I kept walking. Not because I was stronger, but because I no longer needed to stop. People assume that once you move on, life becomes lighter. That's a lie. Sometimes life becomes quieter instead, so quiet that you stop noticing the cracks forming under your feet. Lucas and I had been seeing each other for almost a year. He never raised his voice, never lied, never disappeared. He did everything right, and yet I felt nothing. Not love, not excitement, not even fear, just distance. One night, while we were lying in bed, he whispered, "Mia, do you ever feel like you're not really here?" I stared at the ceiling and said nothing. Because the truth was, I had survived betrayal, but I hadn't survived hope. No one tells you that healing can hollow you out. I had learned how to be strong alone, but I had forgotten how to be vulnerable with someone. When Lucas reached for my hand, my body tensed before my mind could react. He noticed. "I'm not him," he said quietly. I swallowed hard. I know. But knowing isn't the same as believing. A week later, Lucas ended things. He didn't accuse. He didn't beg. He just said, "You deserve someone who can let themselves love again." And I watched another good man walk away, not because I was too much, but because I was empty. That night, I sat on my kitchen floor and realized something terrifying. Ethan didn't just break my heart. He rewired it. The call came on a rainy Thursday evening. It was Clara. Her voice was wrong. Too careful. Me, are you sitting down? I already knew. Ethan was found this morning, she said. He didn't make it. The room tilted. I slid down the wall and sat on the floor, phone pressed to my ear, heart pounding like it was trying to escape.
How?
I asked. Overdose, she said softly. Accidental, they think. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just sat there, staring at the carpet, thinking about all the endings my mind had written, and how none of them included this. I didn't want to go, but I did. The room was filled with people who didn't know the whole story. People who loved him. People who missed him. Kayla wasn't there. I stood in the back, unseen, and listened as someone called him kind, misunderstood. A good man who lost his way. Maybe they were right. People are rarely just one thing. When the service ended, I stepped outside and felt the cold air hit my face. And then I cried. Not for the man he became, but for the man I thought he was. A week later, I received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single page. Mia, I ruined everything good in my life, and I know that now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know that losing you was the moment I stopped recognizing myself. I hope one day you love someone who doesn't make you question your worth.
I'm sorry.
My hands shook. This was the closure I thought I wanted. And it felt like nothing. Because closure doesn't heal wounds. It just explains where they came from. Love doesn't always save people. Sometimes it just teaches them what they lost. And sometimes the lesson comes too late. I stopped asking what if. I stopped imagining different endings. Because real life doesn't care about redemption arcs. It just keeps moving. If you're reading this and you're still in the middle of betrayal, still blaming yourself, still hoping someone will change, hear this. You can love someone deeply and still walk away. You can forgive someone and never let them back in. And you can survive something that permanently changes you. But not every story ends with healing. Some end with acceptance. And acceptance is quieter, heavier, but honest. I loved him once. That doesn't disappear. But I love myself enough now to let the story end where it should have. Not happily, but truthfully. Thank you for watching today's story. If it resonated with you, make sure to hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. What would you have done in MIA's shoes? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective. Remember to subscribe for more heartfelt stories and life lessons. Until next time, take care of yourself and those you love.